This is Heard Between the Ears, a podcast about candid conversations and human contradictions. We're your hosts, Anna and Kendra. Hello, and welcome to Heard Between the Ears. I'm Anna.
And I'm
That's
Kendra.
Kendra. Today we're going to talk about fashion versus style, which is such a fun topic. I've been really
I love this
excited
topic.
today. Yes, because this is something different for us.
Yeah, I feel like
Just
a lot of the topics have been like very serious and heavy. So
or it's well intentioned and we think that things are not going to be serious and then they end up serious.
being serious.
Mostly because the two of us are so self-aware and like just yeah. The other thing, this is like a total tangent, but the other thing, I've been listening to our episodes and I am going to make a pointed effort to try and not say the word like so much. I feel as if this feedback has been an ongoing thing just in the world of public speaking and conversation to try and avoid the word like. So if you hear me slow down, I'm going to try to get my mouth to catch up with my brain to avoid the like factor.
uh, Same. My trouble word is and
Okay.
It's because I have to think about things, and so when I take a break,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to think that I have stopped talking or finished my statement. I was like trying to fix, like, get
It's a
everything
verbal
that's in my
pause.
head. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a verbal pause. And so I'm trying to not do that as well.
So we can both police each other without being annoying. And
Yes.
I just did it too. Anyway, we'll get through this one. This is a fun topic. It was just top of mind, so I was bringing that up. It's in the nature of, candid conversations, what's coming up for you. For me, the word like, and trying to avoid saying it so much. So glad that we're 9 episodes in, and I'm just now deciding that this is the goal of mine. Anyway, fashion versus style. So, Kendra,
Mhm.
do you have an idea of the origin story of fashion?
So you already get a full history about fashion. I
I'm
think
I'm asking because so silly in my mind. I was thinking, well, where did fashion begin? And I couldn't I mean, I think I had in my mind I thought that fashion was just fashion. But then I did some googling and I want you to pop in with your answer because I'm sure you're so in tune. I'm sure you know or have a better idea than I did. So you go now. You flaunt yourself.
um so I think fashion has always been a thing, but I don't think it really became what it is, the beginnings of it, probably in like the mid 19th century. So like 1800s. Yeah, that's when haute couture
Haute
became a thing.
couture. Yeah.
I think before that time, fashion was always a thing because we're human beings, right? We always are going to put things on regardless of like if the trend of the season is those antebellum dresses. I'm thinking of from slave days where women had these big, beautiful, long, but also corsets that they had to tie. And even though that was the wear of the day, there were still different ways to style it. And so even though the fashion idea of like this haute couture thing didn't happen until later, fashion has always and will always be a thing if New York Fashion Week and Paris Fashion Week and Milan Fashion Week ceases to exist.
Oh, for sure. So in my googling, fashion, and you kind of nailed a bit of it. it's a status thing. So back in the day, and we're talking about like Egyptian and Roman times, those people who were showing their wealth would be dressed in color, whereas people who were of a lesser social class had more of that neutral color palette, couldn't afford the dyes, the typical. If I think to my like Disney movie, The Prince of Egypt back in the day, those slaves and workers and blue collar positions, if you will, the people who actually make the town go, were wearing things that were very neutral in color palette, whereas royalty and people of status who had wealth would be wearing more colorful things. And I think makeup could probably also get folded into that. If you think of Egyptian times with the Cleopatra and the like cat eye, using even men wearing makeup, like having the eyeliner on as well. That's just another one of these like status symbols. And so, additionally, from what I could gather, fashion didn't really come into play until the late 1800s, early 1900s. I think one of the first hoteliers and haute couture, if you will, was like around 1910. So fashion has been around for over 1,000 years, if you want to call it really what it is today, these fashion houses. But the other thing that I think that you touched on was this iteration of style. So fashion from a sense of a way to show status, but style in terms of maybe how you're showing up or how you can elevate or modify, or say you're given this burlap sack of a dress, somebody ties a waist belt around it, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, like that's really cool and different. And the way that they influence each other, just these like subtle tweaks of somebody doing something that's innovative and different, and how that impacts the fashion world and fashion houses. It's pretty wild.
I agree. And I love this history that you have brought into this conversation. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to things you said about like distinguishing like the wealthier people or the people with status had more colorful garbs. And I agree with that because like if you're poor and you're constantly working in the field, working in your hands, you don't want to you can't afford the fabric, but also you don't want to get those things dirty, right? So if you're constantly, sculpting, woodworking, other things, farming, I'm not going to pay money for something that I can't afford anyways. And then when I get it, I'm not going to be in the field doing that. But then the second thing, the second thing you touched on was like, style and fashion have always been a thing. We have to wear clothes. If we lived in a society where people could walk around naked, style and fashion would not be a thing.
Right. True. Yeah. That is I just wonder what it was like to walk around town back in the early like BC-ish times, and like just where like, okay, so fabric comes from cotton or linen or whatever the substrate is, whatever the plant material is. That's like plant materials is where the first fashion came from. So it's very mind-blowing to me that somebody looked at a palm leaf and decided, oh, I can weave this and turn it into a sheath dress, not knowing that it was a sheath dress at the time. But all of a sudden you're making these garments out of natural materials. And even the innovation that happened,
or animal fur.
True. Yes. Yeah. Valid. So valid. Like people of the prehistoric times, those cave people coming up with a purpose for the animal. Like they used everything. So light animal fiber, to your point. Yes. Fur. Those, I'm trying to think what the carcass is such a really terrible word, but
That's what it is.
what's that called? Their
Their fur or their carcass?
the thing that covers the skin with the fur on it and how you would turn it into something. A piece of animal fur. Whatever the term
That
is for that.
thing, whatever
That
that
thing.
thing is.
Whatever that thing is that I can't think of. Anyway, yeah, you bring up a really valid point. So, ever since anybody's been wearing whatever the thing is, these ideas that pop up for how to style the garb. If I were to think of okay, so another question. What would you say your personal style is?
That's a good question. But I also think, did we define, like, I feel like we've been using style and fashion different. I've been using style and fashion differently. And did we define what the difference are between the two? I feel
No,
like
but
we
maybe we
should.
should do that. We
Yeah.
went into the origin story, but
Hmm.
what would you say fashion is? What would you say style is?
I think fashion is what we see on what fashion designers create. So they create these different trends and garments that exist that, again, is for like those high status people. I think of it as haute couture. The things that you see on fashion runways is what I think of fashion, right? But then with style, I see it as in the interpretation of fashion,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if the current trend right now is jeans, jeans is the thing of the season, vest and vest, right? And so, like, that is the fashion, but then the
Mm-hmm.
style is translating how you would wear a vest or how you would wear denim pieces,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think if we both had the same pieces that we had to put together as an outfit, we would never look the same because our style is different.
I agree with that. I think that you're right on with this fashion piece. In my mind, fashion is more of a business
Yeah.
and style is more
Hmm.
of the interpretation,
Yep.
uh, the expression, the creative expression.
Yep. I agree.
I agree with you. So back to the question
My
of what's your
style.
style? Because unless if you're manufacturing clothes, Fashion House of Kendra could be.
Maybe
You don't
one
want
day.
you don't want my fashion house. My fashion house would be like, ugh, not great.
Whatever, Anna. Whatever. I would describe my style as three words: bold, classic, and colorful.
Yes.
So I love a classic silhouette of things. So I love trench coats and high-waisted pants and button-ups and all of these classic pieces and staples that can never go out of style. But
Hmm.
then I love to incorporate patterns, prints, colors, and just throwing on whatever I want. So I will wear a monochromatic outfit, or I will color block or pattern or print and pattern mix. But
Hmm.
as long as there's a classic element to that piece, I feel like that is what my style is.
I think on that is on trend for you. That feels very much like your style. I always remember you having a statement something on, so bold and like colorful, yes, and mixing different interesting textiles in a fun and unique way. I would agree with you. Kendra has a styling business on the side of her traditional professional business.
Yes, I
Not only
do.
is she a consultant, but shout out, she is a stylist.
Shout
Get
out
down with it.
Styled by Can.
Yes, stop
Styled
I
by
can.
Can.
Love it.
What would
I
you say your style is?
utilitarian. I think it depends on what your day to day looks like. For me,
Hmm.
the last 12 years I was in athletic clothes pretty much day in and day out, being a personal trainer, working in a fitness studio. Now that I'm back in the office, I've had to figure out how to translate my buzzword athleisure outfits that I'd had being in the fitness industry, because that was all that I bought for so long, to now rolling in these more traditional is the wrong word, because traditional to me takes me to like khaki trousers for and like button ups and business attire that my office is very lax when it comes to dress code. I think they use the term smart casual in our employee
I hate
handbook.
that. I hate that term.
Smart casual. It's basically it's don't look like a slob is what that translates to. And if you have a client meeting, make sure that you look client meeting appropriate. But anyway,
Yeah.
my style is pretty utilitarian. I like to be comfortable, but I also like to, for if I'm going to invest in something, I want it to have a purpose. I, much like a lot of the people in our generation in college, I would say, fell into the hands of fast fashion, shopping at like Forever 21, wherever was had the trend of the moment, and you just went there and you bought your $20 something, you wore it maybe once or twice, and then you were done with it, whether you threw it away, donated it, gave it to a friend or whatever. Now I would say I very much try to avoid that, because I think that, and this is kind of bebopping all over the place and we can go full circle with it, but I think fast fashion has created a ginormous problem in terms of how people dispose of these clothes and how terrible it is for the environment. So that is something that I don't want to invest in pieces that are just going to fall apart, even though they may look cool for the moment. I'm definitely more into purchasing something that has staying power and is a bit more will transcend whatever the trend is. So if it's a fantastic pair of black jeans that are just going to last me forever, I would much rather spend the extraordinary amount of money on those than something that is going to just fall apart in a few washes.
I would agree, but I also want to say, because I used to shop. So growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. My parents were immigrants and they were concerned. They were just trying to navigate a
Clothe
new
their
culture,
family. Yeah.
navigating a new culture, being away from family and taking care of their family, right? And so we shopped thrift stores because that's what we could afford. And I think me not having access to some of those things really forced me to be creative with my looks,
Yeah.
right? But
Right.
when I got into college and I was making my own, not a lot of money, girl. I was like making a little bit of money, and I was able to like buy my own things, even when I shopped at those fast fashion places like Forever 21 and Rue 21. Oh my God,
Oh,
that
right.
store. Charlotte Russe.
Oh my gosh. The fact that these store names are coming out of your mouth is
Right.
blowing my mind right now. Because when I think of you, I don't think of you as shopping at any of those
Oh
places.
yeah, I used to shop there because they were cheap, right? But
Right.
like
Hmm.
I never really because I know a lot of people that did just like always go shopping at those stores every weekend to buy whatever they wanted. And that wasn't always the case for me because again, I wasn't making a ton of money in college. We were
Hmm.
broke. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I would always make a way to make my fast fashion last, right? So I would restyle it in a different way. So I think fast fashion as a whole, yes, it's very detrimental to how we consume materials, but
Mhm.
also very bad for the earth. But I also think there's a subset of us that I still have things from Forever 21 that I bought a few years ago that still fits and I still manage to make work in my closet.
Nice.
You're just, but I also think the way that people make clothes now is completely different than when we were in college
Yeah.
or grad school, maybe. But I think it really changed when social media started like influencers and content creators started like flooding the market. And I think the way we consume things is way different, and the quality of material is way different than it was like 20 years ago.
Better or
Um,
worse?
Worse.
Worse. Yeah, I
I
would
think
agree.
it's worse now than it was 20 years ago. Because, like I
I would
said, some of the
agree.
stuff that I could still fit, like I have a bag that I'm giving away to this. There's a brand called 4 days, and they
Uh-huh.
have a take back bag that you can buy and like send any materials that you don't use anymore, and they'll take it for free to
Oh, cool.
repurpose into
Oh,
other
awesome.
things. And so like did a closet clean, and I found some things from like 20 years ago that I could still kind of fit, but it's not really my style anymore. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, the material of that is way better than some of the material that I bought from a fast fashion brand like maybe a month or two ago. And
Yeah,
so it's just like the quality of materials are just, it's not good.
not good. I'm okay. So I'm going back in time and I'm remembering and touching on the things that you had to say. Our family, my family growing up, additionally, it was just that my parents were very mindful of what they spent money on, knowing that the kids were probably going to grow out of things. Did you need the name brand thing? Because I remember shopping at Payless a lot.
Oh,
And
same,
my
same.
friends would have like Birkenstocks were something that was in when I was young. And so then I had to go to Payless to get the Birkenstock knockoff situation versus the name brand, which seemed like so much trauma back in the day. But honestly, like I probably would do the same thing at this point in time. Just because stuff is so expensive. I get that. And as far as spending money on things, I remember as soon as I also started making money babysitting or whatever, I was shopping at, I think I was in the fourth or fifth grade, shopping at like the Limited and Express because that's what the cool thing was. All I could afford to buy was whatever their like cotton v-neck t-shirt or shorts was. Like I couldn't afford to buy those very trendy, cool outfits. Plus, I was in like,
Mhm.
I was 11 or 12 years. What was I going to do buying business attire from the Limited? Like this doesn't even track. But anyway,
Right.
soon as I started making not like extraordinary amounts of money in college, but I did the thing where you I was preyed upon by banks because they wanted to give me credit cards. And so I was like,
Yeah.
great, if I get this magic card, I can buy whatever I want. And I did. And then I went into debt over fashion. I had Jacob's purses and like name brand this, that, and the other. Do I wish I could go back in time and give back all that stuff so I could have my money back? Oh, yes, absolutely. That is the industry, that business sense of pushing this fashion at you versus looking at what you've got in your closet and using your brain or your imagination to transform what you've got into
Right.
something new or different. I love the idea of thrift shops. I love the idea of thrift shops. I do not have the fashion sense that you do, where I can look at something and say, oh, if I cut the sleeves or if I hem this or if I tailor that, my brain's like, look frumpy dumpy. This doesn't work for me. I'm not going to get it. Instead of being, using some brain power and trying to figure it out. It's thrift stores is on my list. There's so much good stuff there, and I think Sex in the City, that was like an example of media pushing fashion where we all sat and looked at Carrie Bradshaw's closet and aspired to have the Manolo Blahniks and the name brand, whatever that she was apparently finding in the bargain bin in New York City, which to this day, I'm like, that I feel like that's such a falsification of information. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
You're wrong on that. You haven't been to New York, because it's not just like, so there's thrifting and then there's like consignments. And so thrift stores are like, the Goodwills and the Salvation Armies. The consignment stores are when like people donate their or give their name brand things. So the
yeah,
consignment stores is probably where Carrie was shopping to find those beautiful pieces. But also,
Right.
Carrie was a bad example because Carrie couldn't, when her place went co-op, she couldn't afford that. She had to borrow money because all she did was shopping. So,
Right. Yeah. But just the influence that
yeah,
fashion has over culture is
yeah.
very interesting to me.
It is very interesting because it's always a woman thing, right? Fashion has always been, and not to say that men can't be in the fashion, because there's a ton of men that are very keen about what they put on their body and how much it
Hmm.
costs and blah, 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 blah. But because it's geared towards women, it's now taken on this frivolous thing because it's like, if women like it, it has to be frivolous. And it's
Oh,
just like, no, it takes like fashion takes a lot of work. There, like you said, you are a person that can't go into a thrift store and put things together. You just
right.
don't have the brain width. And there's people that are like that. They don't know how to put things together, but give them something else, a different subject matter, and they excel in. Just like there's
Right.
things that I cannot do, no
Right.
matter how
Yeah.
hard I try. But put me in a store, I could whip together 50 outfits for you like that. And I think because it's a woman's thing, it's become this thing that we aren't supposed to take serious on. Like I know women that have constantly said like or told me like I don't care about fashion because like I feel like people are not going to take me serious. And it's
Mm.
like
You're like,
no.
hold up. So something
People
that's
do
really,
care what you think. People
yeah.
like we are visual people. People if you look bad, I'm not listening to anything you say. Like we all depend on first impressions, right? That has always been the thing for humans. And so like if you don't look good, you don't smell good, I'm not taking you seriously. And that can be said for a lot of people.
Yeah. Um, okay. So couple things. One, female forward fashion. The interesting thing about that is I think it's interesting to see if you were to scan the archives of what businesses are fashion houses, a lot of them are male dominant designers
Yep.
designing for women, which is
Yep.
so, that's very intriguing to me. So that's topic number one. Just how do we think? I wonder where
Because
that
it's a
came in.
business.
It's a business, but I also wonder how, if you think of females influencing the fashion industry from a standpoint of like silhouettes and what is fashionable, it probably honestly has something to do with the fact that this just popped into my head, like butterflies needing to attract. But I think it's male animals ending up looking more beautiful than women because they're trying to attract women. In
Mhm.
fashion, I think because these women are being married off and there were arranged marriages and whatnot, depending on your status, your family was investing in your wardrobe to be the thing that like sells you to this person who needs a wife. So I that's my suspicion is the reason that fashion was designed for women, we'll say, was because they needed to get married.
But also when we think about like you said, we have to take this back. Like I'm glad you incorporated the history because we got to take it back, right? The people, the way that our society, our world was created, not
Hmm.
necessarily created. Like men ruled the world. Men had the money. Men
Yeah.
went out and worked. And so when we think of fashion, which is something that is women dominated, when you think about the behind the scenes, men are still the people funding the things because again, it's a business. So like men will always be in charge. I'm not saying that men will always be in charge. I hope that one day that the statistics change and men are no longer dominating
The
as
fashion
CEOs and
industry.
owners as a fashion industry.
Hmm.
But like when you think about how our world and our society was created, it makes sense. that men kind of dominate a lot of the industries unless it was created for women.
Yeah. When I think of certain fashion houses as well, it's these men who are at the top of the food chain, but the women are the ones who are actually making the garments.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's such an interesting piece of the puzzle. The ones who are actually making it happen.
Right.
Let's
But
flip it on its
even,
head.
yeah, truly. And even like taking it outside of gender, like it's still it's a white industry still. There
Uh,
are not a lot of, while we are making strides in the fashion industry with women and men of color coming in, it's still very, very low. People are
mm-hmm.
still fighting in 2024 to make changes in the fashion industry, which is just, it's just such an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's definitely very intriguing. So if we are to also think about how fashion is showing up in the world, something that I need to pay more attention to. I've just through scrolling through social media this morning, the Olympic Games just kicked off. And so something that I think that's really trendy and interesting is how fashion is playing a role in opening ceremonies and what athletic apparel not only is doing from a technical standpoint, it's got to withstand all of the things that these athletes are going through, but before they even step out onto the court or swim in the pool or whatever, seeing how fashion is showing up in something so big as the Olympics, there's like a lot of buzz actually around it, and just different teams and what they're wearing, and that fashion houses want to actually style these athletes. And if you think about even like professional football, for example, the step and repeats that are now trending because people want to see what the players are wearing before they step out onto the field. And it's a way that they're expressing themselves, because as soon as they put on their uniform, they look the same as their other teammates. But like prior to
Mm-hmm.
that, how you're showing up before your feet touch the field, I think it's so interesting. It's
But I
so
also think,
interesting.
I think it's always been a thing, but I think social media really magnified it because
Right.
before social media, like basketball players is what I'm trying to say. In the NBA, like when they
Mm-hmm.
were coming, when they had just landed and they were coming into the stadium to go to the locker room, like you could see the different outfits they would wear. Even football, when they would get on the plane and come off, sometimes you would see it. Um, Sometimes you see the different outfits. I mean, but I think it's more prevalent now because
Yeah.
like social media allows the players and the athletes to like create a brand for themselves and a name to say, I'm not just an athlete, I also care about X, whether that's
Right.
fashion, whether that's business, whatever that is, and they're allowed because they're able to share that message. People are now like, oh, we got to do this now because looks like our audience really wants to see this. But I think it was always a thing. Like I
Yeah.
said, humans have to wear clothes, and as long as I have a say in what goes on my body, there's always going to be style and fashion being consumed.
Definitely. Absolutely. So when we think about dressing for the occasion, what are some of your favorite looks, maybe that you so say we'll do one, what's one of your favorite fancy looks and one of your favorite like casual looks that have come together?
So I love African print. So that has been a thing for me that I just enjoy and put on my body. And so when it comes to those like fancy dress up events, I always try to either pull out or buy
Yeah. Yeah.
a dress look that incorporates African print because I just love Like the thing about African print that I love is just it's so unique and also
Hmm.
really colorful. And then the designs can be so different. So even if I'm wearing the same fabric as someone else, the way that it's styled or even the way that it's cut, it's going to be completely different than somebody else. And so, and because I live in Ohio where there's not a lot of librarians here, so I will always be standing out. And it's not to like I don't wear it just to stand out, but I love it as a great conversation starter
Uh-huh.
because people will always ask me where I get my stuff from. And it's helpful for me as an introvert that does not love to just jump into conversations with people at events that I don't know. And so like for me, it's just like it's a statement piece, but also a conversation piece. So I
Yeah.
love African print for like formal events.
What about a casual event?
Uh so recently this summer actually I've been really into neutrals, which is I'm just
Not
like, what is
you.
going on? Not me at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But I don't know what there's just been something about neutral prints that's been giving me all of the things that I need this summer. So I'm just leading into that right now. But I think generally when it comes to like more casual events, I will probably do either a monochromatic look or a color blocking look.
Hmm. For me, my favorite, this is so stupid and I can't, it's not stupid, it's how I feel. So I was a junior and I was asked to
Mhm.
go to senior prom. And
Mhm.
this dress that I wore was the perfect shade of red for me. It just looked so good on my skin tone. The way that the dress was draped across the bodice, it was like an A-line dress. It was kind of drapey across the bodice. It had, I want to say was it spaghetti straps or strapless? It was either spaghetti straps or strapless. Anyway, I in that moment looked like a freaking 1,000 on a scale of 1 to 10. I had my hair done. I had a tan. I had this dress on. I had a handsome date.
You was looking good.
I was looking good. And for me to think that like my fashion moment peaked when I was maybe 16 or 17 years old is a little unfortunate and sad. But in that moment, I was like, I look so freaking good right now. I look so good right now. Um, so I have to say that was one of my favorite fashion moments. I just loved it. I loved it. I loved it. But in more of like a casual sense, something that I actually really adore that I don't say that I wear super often is well, there's two things. And they're both accessories actually. One is cowboy boots, like more of a traditional pointed toe in the front of the shoe. I love when it like kind of dips down so it looks really flattering on your legs and gives you like
Hmm.
very beautiful shape. So I
Yeah.
love cowboy boots and I actually love wearing hats. Like
I mean, you look good in hats.
western hats. So I think it's really funny that I'm actually out here wearing cowboy boots and hats because they're two of my
So
favorite things.
it's also very much on trend right now. Beyonce made
Yeah.
Western fashion a trend. So
Yeah. Well, I was doing the Western trend before Beyonce was doing the Western trend out here
agreed.
in
There were
2024.
many people doing the Western trend before Beyonce made it a thing. Correct. But you
But
know, style is
yeah,
cyclical.
it so is. It so is. It's so funny because I remember one of the my my best friend in college, she has so many funny stories of me, but one of my favorite funny stories was I went to the University of Dayton and so she told me this one story. She was like, Anna was running down Irving Street in cowboy boots and pearls, and she drops her digital camera underneath a car. So all I see is like Anna getting underneath this car, picking up her digital camera, wearing her cowboy boots and pearls. And it was just like this really funny story, which the cowboy boots haven't changed since college, but the pearls I've dropped because I wouldn't classify myself as a very preppy person at
Hmm.
all. But it's just
But
funny the things
pearls don't
that
make you preppy.
back then I was wearing pearls because it was a preppy thing, not because it was a classic thing.
Got it.
Yeah, this was like the I don't even know where the pearl trend came from in the early 2000s, but yeah, the cowboy boots I've not lost. The pearls I more or less have.
Well, pearls were a thing last year and maybe into this year. So it's back. Pearls are back.
Pearls are back. So, additionally touching on the Olympic trend, but also this idea of gender fluidity. So with menswear appearing on women wearing these very structured architectural pieces like suits or um, just the lines, the way that the apparel is more, you can see like details are seaming or where pleats are going or just how outfits are appearing on people and vice versa, men who are wearing trends that would be maybe a bit more like androgynous or um feminine, like the loose flowing kind of fabrics and things like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
I what's your how what's your take on that? What's your take on the gender fluidity and how it shows up in fashion and style? I think that for me personally, it feels like more of a style thing.
Um, I have a couple of things. So one, gender fluidity and androgynous fashion is not new, right? I feel like
Right.
the first time I remember hearing that word was in like the early 1990s.
Hmm.
And so like Grace Jones was the person that made gender and androgynous a look. And so was not just Grace Jones, but also George Michaels.
Yeah. George Michael.
Um, and Prince. Prince used to wear like there's a lot
Well,
of
and Boy
artists
George and
and Boy George.
Madonna. Yeah.
Yes. And so
Lots of
like I
90s.
feel like the 90s was the time where like androgyny was a thing. And so I think it's not new, but I love that artists were the forefront in that because now I welcome gender fluidity in fashion because there are a lot of non-binary people that don't feel comfortable in the traditional clothing that's assigned to a specific gender, including men and women. And so I love this idea of having um, fashion becoming more accessible and for everyone so they don't feel
Hmm.
like outsiders because fashion is just not fashion. Style is just it's so important for people.
Yeah.
Like it's the way we express ourselves. And so like having fashion that allows people to feel comfortable in who they are is something that I will always be for. But I think when it comes to style, it can be a fashion trend. Like I know that there are people that don't necessarily fit, they don't fall into the non-binary gender. They fall into like either a cisgender or heterosexual person, but they
Hmm.
still are open to trying these new and push the boundaries when it comes to gender styling. And I also love that because, again, it gives more ideas to people to, try something new,
Yeah.
but also, again, makes it a lot more, making style a lot more inclusive than it has been in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely in full support of it. I love when people are showing up as themselves and expressing themselves in a way that feels authentic to their personality. And I, just fully support that. And I hope it's interesting too because I feel like there is a shift that's also happening in how brands are who brands are putting in front of their campaigns.
Hmm.
um like I think it's CoverGirl was one of those first brands, I think, that actually pushed the limits on showing different ethnicities, showing people who have um what's the right term for it, like dermatological different complexions in their skin being multi complexion, or having vertigo. Just
Vertiligo.
like I just appreciate the fact that they are aware that not everybody's skin it shows up the same. There are people who are trying to either fix their complexion or just want to feel beautiful in a way that's authentic to them. And so it's really refreshing to see not your typical blonde hair, blue eyed female stick figure showing up on all of these campaigns. There's people who look different, not only from like a skin tone, but also their body shape. And even people like this morning, I was on Athleta's website of all places, and they have not only plus size models, but models who have Down syndrome on there. And it's like those people need and want and appreciate fashion and style too. So don't turn a blind eye to the greater picture and start to, use your platform for doing better things. I completely commend that and love it.
Yeah, I love that they're incorporating, like you said, different sizes, different genders, different abilities. I've seen a lot in these last 5 years that I hadn't seen at all.
Yeah.
Growing up, which is it's just amazing how far we have come as a society about what we think are the beauty standards. Now, I'm not saying that the beauty standards aren't still toxic, because they are.
They are, yeah.
We still think that thin is the standard. We still don't include people that aren't able bodies. We still don't necessarily include even when plus size models like get on the covers. There's all these comments about this. Like I can't remember what cover it was, but there was a plus size model on like the Sports Illustrated or something, and there's like a whole bunch of comments about it, and I'm just like,
don't define what beauty isn't defined exactly the same for every single person. There's a lot of these like standards or double standards are just small-mindedness, and everybody is beautiful in their own skin.
Agree.
And just leaning more into this confidence piece.
Yeah.
There are people who own what they look like in a way that's authentic to them, and the way that is authentic to them is so beautiful.
Right.
So
right.
I appreciate that. I love it.
I know.
I love it.
I love this move to more inclusivity in the world, because no one is the same. So I love it.
Right. Okay. I feel like there's way more that we can still talk about, and I would love to continue. I just, in the sense of ending on a high note, I'm thinking that it's secret question time.
Okay. It is.
Cool. So my secret question for you is, what is a fashion trend that you've participated in that you wish will like never return? So what's a fashion faux pas that you've participated in that you are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wore that, or I did this, or
I think it was the pants with dresses. Now, now I have seen a new look with pants with dresses that I absolutely love. But the way that we were doing pants with dresses in the early 2000s was not good.
Like, are you talking about the leggings underneath the?
Yes. I did it.
Yeah.
I will be the first to admit that I have several looks, and I don't think I have pictures, but if I do, I've tried to destroy all of them. That I didn't like. At the time I loved, because that's what everyone else was doing. But like looking back, girl, what was you doing? Because it wasn't just like short dresses. It was like long, flowy dresses, with leggings, and I'm just like, no.
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
not.
See, I remember more of the leggings underneath the, like, they weren't shirts and they weren't dresses either. They were like, it was like a tighter dress.
Yeah.
With leggings under. I fully participated in that, and thank God.
I hated those.
That was a bad look.
Very bad look.
That was a bad look, for sure. For me, it was so I think the early 2000s were just kind of like a blip on the radar where we all wish that we could not return to from a fashion sense. So for me, it was like the low cut jeans.
Oh my
I'm
God,
talking,
yes.
yeah, the jeans that like sat on your hip bones. I
Hip
could get away
huggers.
with it then because I had a very flat stomach and was like, I didn't have the shape that I had a butt, but it wasn't the butt that I have now. So like if that low
Low
jean pant
rise, hip
trend
huggers.
returns, which I think
It
it tried
has.
to earlier this year, I
It
was like,
has.
it's not me. That's not for
It's
me.
the people that are doing the low rise trend are the 20s and the 19-year-olds. Like
Yeah.
I've literally gone to a restaurant and saw like these young college girls in hip huggers, and I was just like, I will never.
I will never.
I will
Not there's
never.
no return to that for me. No, not a chance. And I remember
Oh
it
my
was like
God.
all the rage. All the
All
rage.
the
That
rage.
your low rise jeans with your graphic tee. I'm not
Yeah,
going back to that.
I'm not going back to that either. And wow, I hated those also. That was trend number two. So those are like the two things that I really hated about that time.
So I this is an additional tangent, but it also plays in. I that was the era where I shopped at Hollister,
Ugh,
if you
I
remember
couldn't
that. So I had
I
my
couldn't fit Hollis. I couldn't fit Abercrombie. I wanted to shop there, but I couldn't fit them because I had hip size and a butt.
yeah.
I
This
was
was
thinner than I am now, but still.
they did not cater. They were not kind and did not cater to a shapely audience.
Nope.
But that was where I shopped. I bought my low rise jeans, my graphic tee. I had a puka shell necklace, and I had hair that was like to my, I think it was just above my collarbone. So up to here. So on my learner's permit, driver's license, I looked like a Hawaiian boy. Like I just remember this driver's license where I had my hair cut where it was just kind of like a triangle mushroom effect, puka shell necklace, graphic
Mhm.
tee, learner's permit, looking like a Hawaiian boy.
Oh
This.
boy. Oh boy.
Not going
Whew.
back. Not going
Not
back.
going back to that. Not going back. I have put on high-waisted jeans and I never want to go back to low waist
I
or low
agree.
rise.
I am a high waisted gal as well. Completely. Yes. What's your secret question?
Okay. So my question is, what's your favorite closet staple? Like something that you will always rebuy, no matter what age, no matter what, if it goes out of style, something that you will always repurchase.
I feel like the easy answer here is jeans, but
Hmm.
I want to reach for something that's a little bit more than just jeans. I'm trying to think if there's anything I like I don't have one right now because I actually when I moved here I gave up two of them. But I love like fr- like an army jacket kind of thing, like a do you know what I'm talking about? They're usually it's like a
Utility jacket.
utility jacket because my word is utilitarian. I love a utility jacket. I don't have one on me right now. That'll be something that I'll go thrifting for. I'll try to find a good utilitarian jacket, or I would love to have a jean jacket that's got like a shearling neck on it because I'm just
Mm-hmm.
leaning into this Western vibe over here, this utilitarian Western vibe. I'm going to be in my utilitarian jacket with my cowboy boots and my jean jacket with my shearling collar.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So I have a lot of staples, but I
I'm
think if I had
sure.
to like pull out one, that's very hard. So I'm gonna say two.
Okay, I did.
So the first is off the shoulder tops. Like I
Mm.
was wearing off the shoulder tops when they weren't in style or weren't in, not style, when they weren't in trend. Wearing off the shoulder top when they weren't in trend, when they were in trend, when they got out of trend again. I will always wear an off the shoulder top. I don't know what it is, but it's just like
If it
it just
works for you.
it just does things for me. And I'm just like, this is it. I will never
Yeah.
not wear an off the shoulder shop if I have the option to. And then vest. Oh my God, I love vests. I have been wearing vests since I remember my first vest I bought was probably in undergrad. I bought it
Wow.
myself. And like ever since then, like vests have always been in my wardrobe and they will forever be in my wardrobe.
That's so fun.
It's a good third piece.
I completely forgot about a vest. And when you just said vest, I remember there was a flashback in my head. I had this black, I think it might have been like leather or fake leather or what it was, some sort of like animal centric vest that was black that my mom took me to, because we went to JC Penney's to get our like picture taken. And my mom definitely took me, and I had this like white collared long sleeve shirt with my black animal leather vest and like a black skirt. A vivid memory. You said vest, I went vivid memory. Yeah.
Vests are my thing. So when vests go out of trend again, because they will in like a year or two, I will still be wearing vests.
I might have to go look for a vest when I'm thrifting. So I think a cute little denim vest would be cute, or like I don't know, some sort of like suiting menswear moment. Yeah, with like a baggy
love the way vests look.
Trouser. Yeah. Oh, girl. Love it. Yeah. For somebody who feels like they don't have a fashion sense or lots of style, like I do have a massive appreciation for fashion. I've always just thought it was cool, even if I couldn't do it.
It's great to consume just to see the way that people put things together. Yeah. I agree.
The creativity involved. Yeah. Yes. Cool. Well, thank you for listening. Until next time. Thank you for listening. If you like the podcast, please like and subscribe to the podcast. Drop a comment, leave a review, connect on social media @HeardBetween, and keep coming back for more. Until next time.